In Venezuela, authorities of the Bolivarian National Armed Forces activated the integral defense operational zones in the northeastern states of Nueva Esparta, Sucre, and Delta Amacuro. In Ecuador, as police continues repressing popular demonstrations, the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities denounced racism and state violence against protesters. Israel has reportedly violated the ceasefire agreement with the resistance movement Hamas, killing at least 6 Palestinians in the Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Venezuela, on early Tuesday morning, authorities from the Bolivarian National Armed Forces activated the integral defense operational zones in the northeastern states of Nueva Esparta, Sucre, and Delta Amacuro. The defensive exercise began with the deployment of military forces and resources with the objective of protecting the Atlantic Ocean and the Atlantic Caribbean coast from any international threat, as part of the strategic preparation of the people to continue winning peace and exercising their right to life and sovereignty. This new activation adds to the 8 operations previously implemented in La Guaira, Carabobo, Aragua, Zulia, Falcón, Anzoátegui, Managas, and Bolívar, whose territories are ready to defend their sovereignty in a civil-military police fusion.
Well, attention Integral Defense Zone, Nueva Esparta. Attention Integral Defense Zone Sucre and Delta Amacuro. Well, they are fully activated to check and leave in optimal condition the 27 tasks or 27 actions of the entire Integral Defense Plan. Combining preparation for prolonged active and creative popular resistance and the permanent offensive, taking initiative in all fields, in all areas. The entire military force of the Bolivarian Armed Forces is deployed, checking all tasks, together with the legitimate civil political authorities of the country, the states, the municipalities, and our powerful popular movement, the popular power, and the police forces. Perfect fusion of the people, the military, and the police. Well, we are fine-tuning the mechanisms to achieve peace. Every day, achieve peace, exercise full sovereignty, and defend the right to life and joy of the people. Activated.
And on Monday, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro called on all social movements to counteract the lies about the Bolivarian nation on digital platforms. The Venezuelan president pointed out that the offensive of psychological warfare and military threats from August to October had among its collateral objective the intention of damaging the national economy. However, he emphasized that the nation has a resilient structure. In this regard, President Maduro highlighted the patriotic spirit and dedication of the Venezuelan people, the National Bolivarian Armed Forces, and the security forces, emphasizing the level of commitment they have demonstrated in defense of national sovereignty.
Have the certainty that we are on top. We're even preparing a second phase of stabilization of the new economical model of the 13 engines to advance in a great objective that we have to accomplish, which is the production and the substitution, I would say, in a radical way, and 100% of all of the sectors and products that are imported, and the strengthening of the internal financial system and the money system in the country with a virtuous circle that we're going to accomplish. That is one of the new objectives that will be accomplished, I would say, in a with a lot of strength that will be established, and I could say today that the collateral damage that they have pretended, the fascist extremists that are asking to invade Venezuela, and the campaign of threats in the military sector and psychological war of the government of the United States, we have managed to contain, and Venezuela is going to have a last 3 months, October, November, December, of production work, generation of jobs, and fulfilling it entirely so we have Christmas that are happy in community and with family.
Brazilian Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes denied on Monday the request by former President Jair Bolsonaro's lawyer and decided to maintain the house arrest order for the far-right politician. According to the magistrate, the measure is necessary to prevent the risk of flight and to ensure compliance with the law. Among the measures issued, in addition to house arrest, the former president is prohibited from using cell phones and social media. Bolsonaro was sentenced to 27 years and 3 months in prison for leading the coup plot after the 2022 elections. Brazilians have mobilized after the request for amnesty for Jair Bolsonaro, protesting against the amnesty and the proposed constitutional amendment. And Bolivia welcomes 17 international election observation missions joined by 2 national missions, which will monitor the first presidential runoff election this Sunday, October 19th. For this election, 32 long-term observers have already been deployed to the nation's 9 departments, and 44 short-term observers have been deployed to reinforce the observation tasks. Likewise, the process will be observed by 120 observers from 24 countries of the European Union and representatives from Norway, Switzerland, and Canada. In this context, Supreme Electoral Court member Gustavo Avila reported that the election bags are already being delivered and are now in the 22 countries abroad. The United States experienced another violent weekend with at least 12 people killed and 40 injured in 3 shootings that disrupted high school events in 2 states. With this, the number of mass shootings recorded in 2025 is approaching 340. In Mississippi, 2 incidents involving firearms occurred after high school football games, leaving 8 people dead and 20 injured. Governor Tate Reeves described the act as meaningless violence and promised to bring those responsible to justice. According to the non-governmental organization Gun Violence Archive, as of October 11, 2025, the United States has recorded 337 mass shootings. We now have our first break coming up. Remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We're going to be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Ecuador, the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities, CONAIE, denounced the racism and state violence committed against protesters during their latest day of protest. The president of CONAIE, Marlon Vargas, asserted that the march scheduled for October 12 in Quito was repressed by the police and armed forces with excessive use of tear gas and violence. Indigenous leader assured that there was never any intention to cause disturbances or to take over the city, and pointed out that the executive is seeking to create a narrative of violence to justify the repression. Although the armed forces denied the incident, Vargas stated that this type of event reflects the persistence of a state that continues to lock down on indigenous peoples. Also in Ecuador, 6 people died and 17 others were injured in an armed attack during a football game in Guayaquil. The National Police report reveals that the attack was carried out from 2 four-wheel drive vehicles with at least 85 shots fired from rifles and pistols. It was also reported that 2 people died at the scene, while the remaining 4 lost their lives in the hospital. The police stated that 2 of the deceased had criminal records. Despite arresting 2 suspects, the investigation continues. And Ecuadorian police officers found 8 abandoned bodies on an empty lot in a rural area in the coastal province of Los Rios, a crime that is considered to be linked to a dispute between local criminal groups. According to the local police, the deceased include 4 men, 1 of them a minor, and 4 women, who were part of a family group of 12 people from the city of Quito reported missing since October 10th. Reports from local media highlight that the bodies were found stacked and showing signs of torture and gunshot wounds. Meanwhile, 1 adult and 3 minors from the family are still missing. Ecuador has been victim of surging violence for the last year, with increasing criminal groups' activity, Los Rios province being one of the most affected ones. Meanwhile, in Belgium on Tuesday, workers and trade unions took to the streets of Brussels and other cities across the country to demand stronger public services and protest against the government's austerity measures. Union leaders assert that the budget cuts that the government claims will stabilize the economy are affecting the rights of the working class, which is why the country's major unions organized a national strike. In response to the protest, riot police in Brussels, Antwerp, and Liege cracked down on thousands of demonstrators using batons and water cannons and tear gas. In this scenario, injured people and several arrests have been reported. The strike affected land and air transport, schools, and public administration. In Spain, several areas reported flooding, especially in the northeast region of Catalonia, as a result of heavy rainfall. The State Meteorological Agency declared a red alert in the province of Tarragona, as several people were stranded in their homes and vehicles. Catalonian Emergency Services reported an increase in the number of calls received, with 998 incidents registered, although the existence of injured or missing persons has not yet been confirmed. In this regard, the authorities suspended all educational, sports, and social activities in high-risk areas and urged residents to avoid travel and remain in shelter. The Yellow River, China's second longest river, has seen its first flood of the year following torrential rainfall, the Yellow River Conservancy Commission of the Ministry of Water Resources announced on Monday. Due to heavy rainfall in the lower and middle reaches of the Yellow River, the water flow at the Tongguan Hydrological Station on the river's main stream had surged to 5,010 cubic meters per second, surpassing the threshold for meeting flood criteria. Affected by the combined flow from the Wehe River and the northern mainstream of the Yellow River, the flood was formed. It is expected that the water level will continue to rise and the flood control situation in the middle and lower reaches of the Yellow River remains severe. Also in China, the 30th anniversary of the 4th United Nations World Conference on Women was celebrated on Monday in Beijing. Chinese President Xi Jinping reaffirmed the Asian giant's commitment to the integral development of women with the announcement of a series of new proposals and measures presented during the meeting. She noted that the measures taken by China over the past 30 years have generated profound and far-reaching changes in the well-being and prospects of women in China and the world. In this sense, the president announced that in the next 5 years, China will donate an additional $10 million to UN Women and allocate $100 million for cooperation with international organizations on projects to promote the development of women in the world. In Vietnam, the first World Cultures Festival in Hanoi 2025 concluded, promoting tourism and understanding between nations. The event, which was attended by 48 countries, offered a variety of activities, including gastronomy, art, and film. The festival, held in the imperial city of Thang Long, under the slogan "Culture as the Foundation, Art as the Means," attracted a large crowd that enjoyed exhibitions, workshops, and a multicultural parade with nearly 100 traditional costumes. In this first meeting, Venezuela had a prominent participation with performances by Ali Alejandro Primera and the Tambori Primo group, who celebrated and showcased Venezuelan cultural heritage in style. Now, for our second and final short break coming up, we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. A final break, don't go away. Welcome back. Once again, Israel violates the ceasefire agreement with the resistance movement Hamas, killing at least 6 Palestinians in the Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours. Israeli occupation forces carried out an attack in Han Yunis in the south of the coastal enclave in the Shuhaya neighborhood of Gaza City. 5 Palestinians were killed by the Israeli army, which justified the attack by stating that its forces opened fire because the Palestinians had approached troops stationed along the redeployment line. Meanwhile, another person was killed during a raid on their home in the Al-Sika area. In this scenario, the UN Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territory, Francesca Albanese, condemned Israel's continued killing of Palestinians following the ceasefire agreement. The United Nations has received authorization from the Israeli government to deliver humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip after the Israeli blockade has caused over 450 people to die from starvation. The immediate delivery of humanitarian aid is part of the first phase of the agreement signed between Israel and the Palestinian resistance movement Hamas. The United Nations Deputy Spokesman Farhan Haq said they have the necessary authorization to bring aid to Gaza, and that has been agreed with the Israeli authorities, adding that the aid is currently at several points outside the enclave while the details of its distribution are finalized. The opening of humanitarian corridors is key after the ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, effective from 9 a.m. local time on October 10th.
Currently have 1,300 trucks of supplies ready to go into Gaza that are in Egypt, in Jordan, ready to move. And we've got about another 1,000 trucks worth of supplies that are currently on the way to Gaza.
The European Union will resume its monitoring work at the Rafah crossing between Egypt and the Gaza Strip next Wednesday. The High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Kaja Kallas, confirmed the relaunch of the civilian mission in a post on the X platform. Kallas praised the diplomatic progress achieved under the peace plan promoted by U.S. President Donald Trump. She also warned that maintaining peace in Gaza will be extremely complex and called on the international community to support efforts to ensure the continuity of the process. And at least 300,000 South Sudanese fled the country in 2025 due to the escalation of violence between supporters of President Salva Kiir and those of Vice President Riek Machar, who is on trial for crimes against humanity. According to the United Nations Human Rights Commission in South Sudan, the fighting reached a level of intensity not seen since the signing of the 2017 ceasefire agreement. According to UN figures, 148,000 refugees sought shelter in Sudan, 50,000 in Ethiopia, the same number in Uganda, 30,000 in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and 25,000 in Kenya. Added to this are the 2 million internally displaced persons within South Sudan, while the country is hosting 560,000 exiles from the neighboring nation. Meanwhile, in Cameroon, opposition candidate Issa Tishiroma declared himself the winner of the October 12th presidential election. On Tuesday, the leading opposition candidate, Issa Tishiroma, unilaterally declared himself the electoral victory and urged the incumbent president, Paul Biya, to concede defeat. In this context, the Constitutional Council, the body with the authority to announce the winner, has not yet issued a statement regarding the official election results. The Constitutional Council has until October 26 to announce the outcome. Cameroon People's Democratic Movement Party rejected Chiroma's claim and declared that the candidate lacks the results from the polling stations.
We call on the regime in place.
And on Tuesday, Madagascar's President Adri Rajoelina dissolved the National Assembly by decree ahead of a vote promoted by the opposition to remove him from office amid a political crisis in the nation. The president has faced more than 2 weeks of street protests led by young demonstrators, which reached a pivotal point on Saturday when an elite military unit joined the protest and called for him and his ministers to step down. Through a speech broadcasted on the official Facebook account of the presidency, Rajoelina defended the dissolution of parliament as a way to restore order within the nation and strengthen democracy, and declared that he had to leave the country in fear for his life. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. With TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thanks for watching.